Okay.
Okay. Hello again. Greetings, everybody. This is our final presentation for the moment with Christina on medical astrology. Christina, whom I've introduced in our other talks, I shall again, is a medical astrologer, 30 years experience as a nurse, has a diploma from Kira Sutherland in herbs, and also highly trained Ayurvedic practitioner, works with energy healing, and is an all-round fantastic person with an absolute wealth of knowledge. Who will always go the extra yard for her students, and I can attest to this as a fact. Christina's just going to introduce very short kind of introduction to medical astrology for those of you who are interested in her course, which is beginning in on June the 5th, about 2 Mondays away from next Monday.
It's on a Sunday.
It's 3, actually, Sundays, sorry.
It's on a Sunday.
I've got moving-itis. I'm in the middle of moving house.
It's okay.
3 Sundays away. So on the 5th, details on our website, or you can contact me or Zane if you want to know anything further about it, or if you want to ask Christina anything that she has not going to cover here. And we also have with us one of our other friends, Leanne Garwood, who's a prospective student, but just thought she'd like to ask Christina a few questions and get to know her. Very wise decision before, deciding. So
I'm just
going to go. Is there anything I have not said? And this is Zane, where we usually do separate interviews with people, but this isn't really an interview. But
no,
we thought we'd go casual today. This is the casual one. Shall we let it go?
Yeah, let it go.
I mean, shall we let it rip?
Let it rip. Okay.
Cool.
Mercury retrograde. Let it go.
Yes.
Let it rip. One and the same. Now,
Yeah.
I've only got 3 slides, and basically I'm just going to be outlining what medical astrology can do or reveal. But before I get to that, some of you may or may not know, but I'm also the author of Your Astrological Health. Now, if you are going to do this course, I highly recommend that you get this book. You can actually buy it off the website from Lynette and Zane. You can get it as an ebook from Amazon, and that's all good and fine. But if you have it as a hard copy, as you're going, because there's a lot in here, you will find that you will be able to flick through and reference, and there is a section at the back where you can take notes on the chapter that you've just read, that kind of thing. Oh, you've got one there. So,
we've got 10 copies.
At the back, I've got, for the advanced astrologer, I have a whole section just on medical astrology. Some of this I will be covering in class, and some of this I will be looking at to do in a level 2 for next year. Okay, so that's where I'm at. And as Lynette was saying, I've got a 35-year background in medicine. I work primarily in intensive care. My journey into medical astrology was quite profound. Like, I had all this medical knowledge, and while I was nursing, I studied Ayurveda and herbalism and aromatherapy and energetic medicine, and I also practiced as well. But I also noticed that when patients came into the hospital, they would often bring their Bach flowers or their crystals or their homeopathy or something as well. And I always seem to get the patients that had the alternative, they brought their alternative treatments with them. It's really quite funny. So I never really, that kind of sparked something in my head. But I suppose I'm just going to talk a little bit about my first book, Learn to Self-Heal, which has just won 3rd place at the awards in Perth this week. So I was very chuffed about that. When I was nursing, I came across 2 people at the same time. One was Bob. He was 60, used to be a CEO of a big company, and he was in hospital to have his toenail removed. And he was telling me how he had been diagnosed with cancer 30 years prior and had been told he had 6 months to live. At the same time, there was a 47-year-old woman, and I called her Helen. And these names are fictitious, by the way, but the stories are real. She got told that she had lung cancer by the doctor, and she said, and she had an 18-month prognosis, right? I was nursing her on, in the evening, and she was saying to me how she didn't have any friends, she didn't have any family, although I did see people come to see her. And she said she was trying to give away her scarves and her rings, and she said that she wasn't going to be here in the morning. And I said to her, well, you're not checking out yet. You've still got to be here for a few days for a few couple of things. She said, no, I don't mean that. She said, I'm going to be gone. I'm going to, I said, don't be silly. I said, you'll be here when I get back in the morning, because I was on a split shift, finished at 11, came back at 7, 6 o'clock that morning, she died. Now, I didn't know it at the time, but that two people at the same time and it just dawned on me how that has imprinted me. She made up her mind she was going to pass, even though she had a 18-month prognosis, and he was told he had 6 months. And 30 years later, he was still strong and vibrant and all the rest of it. So there's more to being unwell than just your mindset. Like that was a really clear example of what's going on with the mind. And that is part of what I want to talk about. So let's talk a little bit about astromedicine. Let's get into these slides. There's only a few slides, only about 3 or 4. So there's not a lot. So I won't take up much of your time. Hippocrates, who is the father of modern medicine in this day and age, he said, a physician without the knowledge of astrology cannot rightly call himself a physician. Now that's really interesting, because he followed the moon, and he realized that when he did surgery, he noticed that at certain times of the month, the blood flow of the person would be more than other times of the month. So he used to follow the moon cycles, and he used to work this out. And sure enough, one of the no-nos in medical astrology is if you can avoid having surgery 2 to 3 days before a full moon and 2 to 3 days after a full moon, you avoid it, because that is when your blood, when blood flow is at its most, and it's to do with the moon and how we pull at the tides. And of course, we are primarily water as human beings. Yeah, that's one other thing. And I've read books way back in the 1930s where they were talking about this very thing, not to operate on either side of the moon, full moon. It is an integrated science which will identify your body constitution, your metabolism type, your ailments, your diseases and how they relate to your psychological, spiritual, emotional, and mental persona. And if it's in disharmony, which you can determine by the aspects, they can contribute to disease. What medical astrology can reveal. Now, we're not going to be doing all of this in the first level. I'm looking at doing a second level at sometime next year. But the highlights of the health and body, so you can highlight your health, body, weakness in the chart. So we'll be covering that. It can help to determine lunar fertility times for pregnancy. If we have time, we can go over that, but that's something that I'm looking forward to do in level 2, along with elective times for surgery. Here we go. It can establish the best surgical times to minimize post-operative complications. So, if you follow the laws of medical astrology, no operation on a full moon, that's just one. You do not want certain planets giving hard aspects to your planets in the chart, because that will show like transits on the day. That shows that there could be possibilities of issues going wrong. Ideally, you don't want to operate under a retrograde, like things like this. These are normal, basic astrology things that we all know. Treatment, and the treatment suited to the individual. Okay, so looking at the arrangement of the chart, what their planets are, what their modes are, you can determine the kinds of treatments that would be suited for this individual. We can look at foods, vitamins, and minerals for the constitution. That's it. This is in my book, and I've got, most of this is in the book. So I will be looking at the foods and vitamins for next year. We're looking at, because this year there's quite a lot to go through. The length of an illness. So you can see how long someone is going to be unwell for. Like, you can see times in the chart when people have good times, where their vitality is high, and when their vitality is low. So when people say to me, when is a good time for me to be, traveling or starting up a new enterprise or whatever, you want to do that when you are in good vitality. And so when people are having difficult aspects going on, I say, this is not a good idea for you to take on that extra responsibility. If you are in a position of power, then you may need to delegate, because if you become unwell, you will not be able to partake. You will need to take time out to heal, all the rest of it, that kind of thing. So yes, you can see that. Psychological patterns of behavior that contribute to disease. As we know, you are what we think. And doctors are only now beginning to realize something that I've known for quite a while. We actually get sick from the outside in, not from the inside out. Thank you, Leanne. I love it when I don't have to explain myself. Okay. I talk about this in my first book, Learn to Self-Heal. We get sick from the outside in, which is why I say we are spiritual beings. My philosophy, and you don't have to agree with me, but my philosophy is that we are spiritual beings in a physical body. We need to have a strong physical temple in order for us to do the spiritual work, if you are called to do that, or any other work for that matter. Yeah. If your spirituality is low, it's going to affect your physical body, and vice versa. So that's why things like energetic medicine and chakra work and, the non-invasive therapies like color therapy, homeopathy, and all these things can actually work as part of treatment in conjunction with the doctor. Yeah. A lot of people, and I'm just going to say this. I mean, I was a nurse for 35 years. There is a place for medicine in the system. And we are using astrology as a methodology, not as a diagnostic tool. Okay, because we are not doctors. Okay, I am not a doctor. But I can see that if certain planets are affecting certain parts of the chart, that certain parts of the body are going to be affected. Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, so keep in mind that we are using astrology methodology to identify the potentials for a disease, not diagnose. Because once you get into that, you're getting yourself into a lot of trouble. Yeah. And you need to keep in mind also, your clients coming to see you, they want help. They want solutions. So I always, my medical questionnaire, which is in the back of my book here, which is in the medical section for the advanced astrologer, it's quite detailed. It's actually 5 pages. Most people wouldn't put out a form that long, but with all my knowledge, I ask certain things in certain ways. Some of it is my nursing training, and some of it is other things. And because I know that as a physical body, we are a holistic, integrated system. You can't just fix the finger and think that the rest of you is going to be okay. There might be a reason why you've got a sore finger, And let me see if I can. Oh, okay. I was talking to Lynette about this before. Heart attacks, people that have heart issues, is often related to depression, and vice versa.
Way of life, joy, heart.
Exactly, Leanne. The heart is about the joy. Yeah. So if you have depression and your joy in your life is gone, then that is going to affect the heart. And yeah. So I come from a little bit of a different stance. So this is why I ask so many questions. in the form. And the more information I have, the better I can service my clients when it comes to the report that I send out as part of my service. And of course, we've already mentioned this one, the times of vitality and times of stress. So you can either pump up your immune system under times of stress, and usually you kind of know how long that's for, and times of vitality, where you can go and do the other things in your life. Like if you want to go traveling overseas, you don't want to be doing it when, major malefic planets are crossing the ascendant. It's not a good idea. Yeah. So, it can show you things like this. So that's just it in a nutshell. Although there is quite a bit that I cover, because we have, as you know, 12 houses. We have 12 signs, we have 10 planets, and I look at them all individually. And I know it's a bit mundane because it's, you've got to go through Aries and then you've got to go through Taurus. But unless you understand what parts of the body these planets represent or these signs represent, you're not going to be able to get in there and do what we do best as astrologers and see the stories and the connections and work out what's what and why's why. Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. So I hope that's cleared up. So I'm open now for any questions, if there's any.
I'm just trying to think. I was just briefly.
Go ahead.
No. Yeah, Leanne.
Go ahead, Leanne.
Leanne?
I was reading your book, and it was interesting what you said about a T-square, because I've got a mutable T-square and my empty leg Sagittarius in the 12th.
Right.
And my Jupiter's in the 6th next to my sun. I've got it Kazemi. And so I was thinking, that would have to be liver, wouldn't it? With the Jupiter. You know how you were saying that's the dumping ground? I think I read that.
Yeah, I refer to it as a dumping ground.
So is that saying that that's a weak area?
Yeah. What generally happens is when that T-square is activated, the energy goes to the empty leg.
Right.
Like I've got a T-square in my chart, and for me, my neck and my thyroid, which is Taurus, and the top of my shoulders it has always been my problem.
Yeah. I've got Taurus on my 6th house cusp. I can relate to that too.
Yep. So whenever I go and have a massage, they go, "Oh my God, your shoulders are like concrete."
Right.
And I say, and I have to have a massage once or twice a month, because my empty leg, which is where all my stress goes.
Yeah. And Taurus, that's good for massage, isn't it? The physical.
Yes, the physical. Taurus is all about being tactile, touch me in the right places, of course. And, get in there and really get in there and work the shoulders,
Yeah,
so
I thought that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you have to sort of balance it, I guess. Yeah.
So if you've got it, so let's just play with you for a minute from here. Don't worry, you're nice and safe. Your empty T-square is Sagittarius. So, you look at what rules Sagittarius, and in a nutshell, it's the hips, the pancreas, and the liver, right? So you just need to be careful of things like, alcohol intake, because it's not going to digest well in your liver. The same if you eat a diet in high fats. And a simple thing that you can do to keep your liver healthy is just have an Ayurvedic treatment, which is just warm water with lemon.
Yeah.
Oh, I have that.
Bit of pepper, or if you want, the black pepper if you want. You don't need it, but just have it every morning as a routine. One of the things I always stipulate is good daily habits keep you well.
I'm a heavy 6th house, huge heavy hit 6th house.
Yeah.
Are you? So I relate to that.
Yeah, it's good daily habits. It's not trying to get in there once the doctor diagnoses you with a liver problem or something else. The damage is done.
I like the book because what I liked is that you practically said how a person has to do their bit, like go for a walk, when you get up in the morning, those structural sort of things, and as a constant, as a ritual. And you've got a better chance of, fixing your health up. Yeah.
Well, I know it's very Virgoian, like very 6th housey, when I talk about doing your ritual every day. But I come from the place of you need to take responsibility for your health.
Yes.
And that's what I talk about in the introduction, the AIR: awareness, information, and responsibility.
Yeah.
You need to take responsibility for your health.
Yeah.
And you can do that by having these little habits that you do every day, which support you.
You preaching to the converted. What you're talking about is just definitely.
Any other comments? Any other questions?
I just read how you talk about the sun, the moon, Saturn, and the ascendant as, areas you sort of look at in the 1st, the 4th, the 6th, I think you said the 8th, for factors where you find the information.
6 and 12, yeah.
Oh, I've got my nodes there. I've got my node in Gemini and South node in Sagittarius in the 12th. So I'm really interested in the mental, psychological, physical connection.
Yep. So is your node in Virgo by any chance?
No, it's in Gemini.
Oh, that's what you just said. Okay, so that's you getting to understand all the stuff around the health. The axis 6-12 is your major health axis. But as we know, any planets that fall in the angular houses are important, especially the 1st. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and the 4th, which is an angular house anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got Saturn there, so it's
your Saturn on the IC?
Yes.
Mine's on the IC as well. Snap.
Okay. Yeah, well, that's interesting. Yeah, mine's in Pisces, but I don't have
Mine's in Capricorn.
Oh, well, yeah. Oh, okay. Is it squaring sun or is it square anything?
It's sextiles my sun.
Oh, that's nice. That's a bit of a help. Yeah, it's mine's square, so it's interesting. It's so weird, but as I get older, I've noticed I've got to watch my skin. I've got to watch my bone density. As I get older, it's sort of I can see that, when I go to the doctor, and I have to have vitamin D. Like, I'm always low, and I always have calcium. I always have vitamin D every day. But also with Saturn, I also have vitamin C, like a big dose of vitamin C. And since I've had that, my teeth don't bleed at all. So vitamin C is that to do with vitamin C?
Vitamin C is, I look at it more from the sign perspective. Certain signs benefit. I mean, we all benefit from vitamin C, okay? Okay, as a body, as a system, we all need vitamin C. We all need the vitamin D. Yeah? Vitamin D is linked actually to all our major body systems.
Right.
Vitamin D is the new vitamin C. In the old days, it was vitamin C and scurvy.
It was.
Vitamin D is the new vitamin C.
Yeah.
And if you are looking and with the COVID and with the Omicron, they are saying high levels of vitamin D to be taken, high levels of vitamin C to be taken as a preventative.
That's what I do every day. Every day.
Yeah. No. And I'm the same. I take my vitamin D every day, and I have my vitamin C every day. I do mine, do my partner's, wake it all up and say, here you go, honey, before you go to work, just drink this.
Yeah.
And he just drinks it. He doesn't ask what it is. He knows it's a healthy thing. He just drinks it and walks out the door, and I'll get on with it,
It's interesting about doctors, isn't it? Like, I remember meeting this girl who had MS, and she got told, she was from Scottish heritage, that she should have a high amount of vitamin D. Like, she was taking 4,000 milligrams, and it was supposed to be really good for her MS. I went, oh, gee, that's a lot, but maybe it isn't. I don't know. Just suppose it depends on your constitution, I guess.
Well, it does. MS is a nerve condition. It's a nerve illness.
Yeah.
So I would have been looking at bees. I would have been looking bees for the because it's for the connections of the synapses, because multiple sclerosis is a It's when the myelin sheath, which covers the nervous system, breaks down, and the connections between the nerves don't connect, if you know what I mean.
Mercury, isn't it?
Yeah, it's Mercury. It's central nervous system. It's Mercury. It's
Right.
Gemini, Virgo. But even if you don't have any planets in those signs and you have MS, it is Mercury that you are looking for.
Yep,
Yeah?
I'm here. Yep.
So, I mean, maybe her vitamin D is low, but the thing is, you should be having a vitamin D level every year, just because it's fat soluble. You can overdose on vitamin D. It is very, very rare. But a vitamin D level once a year to determine what your vitamin D level is actually a good thing to do.
I always do, yeah.
Yeah, and I have one every year as well. Actually, I've got one coming up next month.
Yeah. I'm out on the farm, so I get out more than what I used to in the city. So, yeah.
Cool.
Yeah,
Any other
interesting.
questions?
Oh, your turn. Your turn.
Okay. I just got a couple, because you actually answered most of the ones I was going to ask, Christina. So coming to the course that you're going to be teaching, do I need to have much knowledge of anatomy of the body in order to take the course?
A lot of people do medical astrology and they do not have anatomy and physiology, or they don't even have a medical background. I know a lot of, like my my teacher who taught me this course, and I've had other teachers as well, but the one that I'm thinking of in particular, she's got sports medicine, and she's got a herbal background. So, you know, but I do feel that a bit of knowledge about the body is good. I mean, there are things that I will explain, but if I'm talking about an ulnar and you think it's in the leg, well, then that might be a bit of a problem, especially if I'm talking about Gemini and I'm talking about the arms and the ulnar and you think it's in the leg. I mean, that could really give you some crossed wires when it comes to interpreting what the chart is saying. So
You might send out
a little bit of knowledge about AMP is good. But I wouldn't say that I'm not saying that you don't need it. I think it makes you a better medical astrologer if you have a bit of a health influence already. But, you know, everybody has to learn somewhere. So let's start.
Yeah. So along that lines, I assume then I really would not need much background in medicine at all, you know, in order to take the course.
I'm not a doctor, but I do have a very strong health background. So you don't need to know medicine because you are not treating them as a medical physician. Okay. But you need to be really good and really clear on what rules what house signifies what. It's just astrology. If you can get that down and you can, I mean, there's no harm. I mean, one of the things, which is a really good thing to do actually, is you just get one of those printouts of the body and, you know, where the bones are, and you just put it there and just, you know, you get one of those big markers and you go head, Aries.
Yes.
good idea.
You know,
But just get a skeleton diagram
Taurus
with the bones.
You know, it doesn't, you don't have to know the minute details about the veins and the arteries. You only need to know that and understand the general concept of that planet rules that part of the body. Or that planet has that kind of inclination. Like if it's Mars, for example, Mars is inflammatory. So if someone is coming to you and they say that they've got a fever and they've got sharp burning pain, that's a Mars issue. So I would be going back to when they first got sick and what was happening to Mars that day. Has their natal Mars been sparked off? But it really is getting to understand the functions of each of the signs and each of the planets. And it's a bit of a work to get through it. But if you don't get that down, you can be really be giving wrong information out, and therefore they will be taking herbs and all sorts of stuff, because they'll go down to the local cornucopia and say, oh, just seen my medical astrologer and I've got a, da-da-da going on, and can you give me something for that? And if you've given the wrong part of the body, but then there could be a problem. Yeah.
Yeah, makes sense.
So,
like I said,
and you can also buy coloring books for the anatomy and physiology. So that's, and I remembered when I was nursing, I had one of those because I hated AMP.
Where do you get those? Can you get them on the
Google coloring AMP book. I know you can get them in Australia because that's where I got mine. And you just go through and you go red for Aries or Mars, do the color code. Yeah. So all these kinds of things, and there are ways to learn. And as I said, all you need to know is just the general, just the general, like, Aries rules the head. Yeah. So when we go into Aries, you will understand that it's not only the head, but it's the skull. It's anything to do with the face. It's, you will understand that it's a bit more. But as long as you've got that general area, you've got some idea. And then the questionnaire or your interaction with your client will either confirm or deny. So if somebody is saying that they've got something going on, and say, oh, they've got a sore eyes or whatever, and you go, and the issue is with the eyes, let's just say, and you're thinking, oh, well, that's a Sagittarius thing, you're way off the beaten track here. So it's just really, really good to get that down. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. So one of the things that you kind of answered in your slideshow, I was just going to ask you, so will we be looking in the course at the things a person needs in order to stay healthy? A lot of times when you think of medical anything, you think, well, I got to fix something because I'm sick. But I'm thinking, will you be talking about things that what people need to stay on the healthy path?
Okay. And in my opinion, that is the best use of medical astrology. It's the prevention. Yeah. That is the best use of this beautiful art that we are going to be going into. So as I've said in my book, and that is just for that was just to make it simple. Okay. You look at your sun, because the sun is to do with the vital body. You look at the moon, because the moon is to do with your emotional and your esoteric body. The sun and the moon, they go together. They may be opposites, but they work together. You can't have one without the other. You can't have a body without a soul, etc. Then you look to Saturn, because Saturn is usually where you've got a block of some description. Because as we know, Saturn is usually cold and blocking and delays and all these kinds of things. Same with medical astrology. And in the book, I've also said you look at your ascendant, because it's the most vital part of your chart. So your ascendant and ascendant ruler, see what's going on with that. So that's very, very simple. So people can read the book and apply it. They'll go to a few different sections in here, and in here, everything is outlined in the way that you can help to support your sun, moon, ascendant. And if Saturn is there, and it's usually one of the problem planets in the chart, then you might want to really strengthen that area.
Can I ask a question about, do you deal with sect, with planets in sect? Because how if you're born at night, Saturn's the problem, and if you're born during the day, Mars is the issue. Do you do that? Because a lot of the astrology.
No, because usually when I'm looking at the transits or at the progressions, or usually when I get my form back, and I'm pretty good at answering asking the right questions and going a little bit deeper than I
Yeah.
should. I'm a
Yes.
Scorpio first house.
Yeah.
So I tend to get enough information to work with what I'm working with.
Yeah, I'm hearing you. We have to gear the right questions to.
Yeah, it's about asking the right questions, you know.
Mm.
Absolutely.
And I even say, what does the doctor say you have?
Mm.
And
see
if they say the doctor says I've got A, B, C, and D, and if they are having a Neptune transit, and as you know, Neptune can give false information, or you can be misdiagnosed under a Neptune transit.
Yeah, it's a bit vague, isn't it? Sometimes.
Yeah.
It's
And
not-
a lot of doctors, they can't find anything under a Neptune transit. So they say that it's idiopathic or autoimmune. And basically what they're saying is they don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've had that experience.
Yes,
Well, I have.
I've had that experience within the past few years, very specifically Neptune passing over my ascendant, and I was diagnosed with an acute attack of pancreatitis, and they could not find the cause. And then they told me afterwards, 10% of the cases of this, they have no idea what caused them, and I'm one of the 10%. That's under the Neptune transit.
Mm.
Yep. So this is often the case. So even if doctors do come up with a diagnosis, I would often recommend that they get a second opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Agree.
Because in what we do, it's not just about saying, oh, Neptune's doing this. It's about how can you help, how can you service the person that's coming to you so they can get on with their lives and be happy and healthy. You know? That's what I think anyway.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Christina, can you look at somebody's chart and see that they have a predisposition to be a healer themselves, or to be a medical practitioner themselves from the chart?
Yes. In the first lesson, we're going to look at the charts of Carl Jung, William. I don't know if I've got William Lilly's chart, but we are going to look at the charts of Carl Jung and maybe Nicholas Culpeper.
Yeah.
And have a look at those charts, because they were prolific medical astrologers that helped and turned the tide. But in my chart, I'll give you an example. I've got my North Node in Virgo in the 12th house.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
And I've also got Hygeia. You all know Hygeia. She was the, yeah. Well, I've got Hygeia on my ascendant.
Ah, interesting.
So that's quite, and I'm just going to share a short story here. A few years ago, because I've got a lot of Capricorn and a lot of Scorpio in my chart. This was while I was still nursing. I decided I wanted to change careers, and I was thinking about becoming a stockbroker.
Oh, right.
I've just said, I've got a lot of Capricorn and I have got a lot of Scorpio in my chart. I did financial astrology and I've studied and I've bought properties when the market's been low and all these kinds of things. So I understand everything around the financial world, but I'm looking at my chart and it is just staring at me, and I'm going to myself, I have to follow what my chart is saying. I'm here to be a healer. With Hygeia on the ascendant and my North Node in Virgo, I mean, you can't get away from that.
Yeah.
I mean, there are other aspects as well, but, you know, they're the two main ones that kind of stick out. And it's like, well, you know, so I need to follow. So even though I had done this course many years ago with in Australia, and then I've done other courses with other medical astrologers from Washington, you know, it's, and being an astrologer, I thought, how can you go against what your chart is there for you to do? And I always say, you need to go with the energy of your chart and not go against it.
Yeah.
So I've gone with the energy of my chart, and, you know, a few years later, my first book came out and our second one's come out, and, you know, and I'm doing what I'm doing and I love what I do. So, yeah.
I think we're probably, is this it?
God.
Has anybody else got any more questions or anything
We've
else
gone for 45 minutes. My God, it's gone fast.
I know.
Yeah, no, I
It
think-
does.
I think this is probably a good.
Mm.
good
Yeah,
day.
I mean, I thought there was a wealth of information there around your course and your
Yes.
approach to medical astrology. Leanne, have you got anything else you want to say before we sign off, or any more questions?
I just like what you said about the energy of the chart, and it wasn't until I was
Yeah.
50 sort of happened I got into community services, and it's so weird because
Yeah.
heavy 6th house, and I actually go to people's home. My moon is there as well, so I've got Sun, Jupiter, Moon, Venus in Gemini with the node on a solar eclipse. I'm born on a solar eclipse.
Wow. So you're here to do
Wow.
prolific work.
Yeah.
I'm born on a total solar eclipse within a couple of hours. And so, like I was saying to Lynette yesterday, I'm out, a service. I've got Mars, Pluto, Uranus and Virgo in the 10th.
Yep.
So yeah, I think you're right. To do with health service, people
Yeah.
engaged. I think I'm sort of doing it actually.
No, I feel you are. And I feel with everything, it's like when I was nursing and I was spending all my money on all these other natural modalities that I was learning. I kind of went, when I was working in intensive care, I went to a course on wound management, which was very, very boring, very, very droll. But the last talk,
Necessary.
the last speaker she talked about energetic medicine and how it affected health. Hello, that got me.
Mm.
That
A lot.
just got me.
The
And
light
then
bulb.
the following weekend, they had a introductory course, and the woman who was a nurse,
Yeah.
she said, "Come along." And I said, "Oh, I don't really have the money to do a course," and the money turned up. So I realized I was meant to do it. So 4 years into my training, I went off and I did all this. And while I was in that, I fell into things like color therapy and herbalisms. And then I went to India, and one of my friends over there kind of went south with drugs, and he wanted to come off heroin, and he asked me to be his support person. So I was his support person in this facility for a week. And in a week, he came off drugs, and I just using the Ayurvedic principles. Again, lights went off. Came back, studied Ayurveda in Australia, went to India, studied at the academy over there, studied with doctors, professors. It was like things just roll out. When you go from one thing to another, it leads you to something else and to something else. And me coming into medical astrology, I think, was just a foregone conclusion, because it just added to everything else that I was doing.
Yeah, I'm pretty happy.
I just feel, Leanne, that for you, everything will open up, and it'll just go. You don't even have to go looking for it. When you've got all those planets in the 10th, so you're definitely here to do something. I've got my Mars. My Mars opposes my Saturn. I see MC.
Yeah,
You
me
too?
too. Yeah, it's
Hello.
I've got Mars and Virgo.
My Mars is in Cancer. It's not great, but it's up there on my MC.
Yeah, my partner's got Mars and Cancer as well.
But still, hey, I've worked out what that was all about, and I'm done and dusted that. So,
It worked.
and of course, and when I talked about the Sun, Moon, and Ascendant and Saturn, that was just to get people into the book and look at the various things, like how to keep themselves healthy and stuff like that. But you are your whole chart. Your chart will reflects your what's going on with your health in its entirety. It's not just if you know your Sun, Moon, and Ascendant that you are right. I had to try to make it a bit simple, so people that are non-astrologers can pick it up, go off and get a chart done, have a look where their moon is, and go and say, "Oh, my moon's in Leo, and this is what it means." That kind of thing. But you are your chart, and this is what we look at. We look at the chart in the entirety. Yeah.
What I'm interested in also is that you know, working with the aspects, obviously we get a bit of a chance to, you know, through transits to work with them and, you know, get a resolve. It really depends where you're at, isn't it? You know, in your
Well,
psychological.
this is why I use the system of, you know, I do the whole chart system. Some people don't. Some people do different systems, and I talk about that in the very first lesson. And it's just, I just literally run over it. Like, you know, these are the 4 ways that you can possibly look at medical astrology or do it with it. I use a particular system, and I have my own particular reasons why I use it. Some people don't use that system, and for them it works very, very well. And like anything in astrology, you find your way. There is no hard and fast rule that says you have to use this house system. But if that is going to work for you, then by all means use it. I do what I do. Not only was I taught in that system, but because of intercepted houses, it just gives me extra information when I am looking for blocks in the body.
Yeah. And with the chakras.
So obviously you can tell that I use Placidus, but you know, but that's the reason why I stick to it.
Yeah.
I don't use it for any other reason, just because I can, you know, because sometimes you can look at charts and people have got stuff going on, and it's not because they have difficult aspects. It could be purely because they've got an intercepted house.
Oh, okay. So when you ask them questions, you're not getting the answer, then you go, there's another layer, and you go, okay.
There's many layers. There's many layers. First, you need to understand the houses and planets, and some of the stuff I will talk about in my level 2 next year. And I've put some of them in the book, but you know, you can look at midpoints as well. I've made a list here. You can look at midpoints, and there are certain planets that do the damage. So you can, you know, we look at those, and then you can look at your psychological beliefs, because if you believe something, that is going to be manifesting into your aura, which manifests through the chakras into your physical body. When I talked about the talk I did a few weeks ago about the chakra connection, I was saying, you know, we get sick from the outside in, and our chakras are directly connected to all our endocrine glands through the nadis, which is the nervous system. Yeah. So I don't sort of see it like a doctor sees it. I see it a little bit above that, in a different perspective. Yeah. Okay.
Chakra balancing, you can do that, can you?
No, I studied esoteric medicine for 4 years. Esoteric healing, I should say, for 4 years. And I practiced after that. And of course, the chakras are also part of the Ayurvedic, you know, there's about 16 different subtopics in Ayurveda. The list goes on and on and on, including surgery. You wouldn't know, but that's there too. But this spiritual component is one of those.
Fascinating. Yeah, it's good.
Which is why in the book I have also, for example, you know, you're looking at which one is this one? I thought it was Gemini. Like, for example, if you're looking at Gemini, you know, you've got the sun profile, body organs, how to overcome stress. You've got the chakra, yeah, and that's to do with the throat, because it's ruled by Mercury. Yeah. If you're suffering with thyroid problems, you know, your throat chakra is out. And if you are a Gemini, or you have strong Gemini influence or strong Virgo influence, then your right to be heard is very important.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. It's been understood, you know.
That too, but it's the right to say what you want to say without fear of being criticized or judged. When you get that, when you don't get that, then your Mercury suffers, and the area it plays out is here, and the nervous system. And of course, the nerves run everywhere around the body. So, you know, don't worry about whether you know a bit of AMP or not, anatomy and phys. I'll explain a few things along the way, you know. Oh, you've got a beautiful black cat as well.
It's my Burmese.
Oh,
It's
I
Ollie,
love cats. I'm a Moon and Leo. Like, hello.
brown Burmese. That's Ollie. Yeah, he wants to know what's going on.
Yeah. My cat's outside with his mates. He's a black one as well. Got a thing about black cats. Okay, so any other questions? Because that's over. My God, so much for our 20-minute chat. 45 minutes
Yes.
later.
Yeah.
Sorry. Sorry, that's it for me.
Don't be sorry.
No. And this is what my classes are going to be like, actually. You know, I'll have the
Yeah.
format and everything, but
They
I'm
are.
very much, I've got Neptune in the first. So I kind of go with the flow a bit. I've got that Saturn on the IC. So I've got the plan. But, you know, I'm very, I go with whatever you guys need.
Ah.
Yeah.
Are you Scorpio rising or what?
No,
what are
I'm
you?
Libra rising.
Oh, Libra. Okay.
Mm.
Yeah. Sorry. Paul's we're Neptune and Scorpio generation. Yeah. And then the one before is the Libra. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. You're trying to work out how old I am.
Oh, it doesn't worry me. No, doesn't matter at all.
No problem. So anything else?
I think that's it really. I read your book a little bit this morning. I was really fascinated, and it's really nicely set out. The first one I've got your second one. I just haven't read that yet. I want to get into that as well.
Oh,
And-
how nice.
Yeah, and so then, you know, I'll sort of make a decision, but I'm pretty keen. I'm so fascinated with health, and I can see the benefit of, you know, good food, good medicine on psychological health. I'm very interested in
Yep.
mental health. I did pretty well in my prac with community services with mental health. So I like bringing the two together and getting the knowledge of that, and so I can be of help. And I work with a lot of elderly people that are a bit depressed too, with this isolation with the COVID.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, a lot of older men, you know, and they don't always look after themselves, Christina.
No, I know. I
They
know.
do. I feel like
They
I wish I could come round and cook for them, you know, cook a nice meal for them, you know. So yeah, that's where I'm at. That's why I want knowledge.
They need a dog, a small dog or a small cat to look after.
True.
I do totally agree with you. I often talk to my partner about that
You know,
elderly need
elderly,
pets.
because, you know, just something small that they can take care of, and it'll give them a purpose to get up in the morning.
Exactly.
Mm.
But a lot of aged care places do not welcome pets.
I know that. I used to work in aged care myself, so I know.
Oh yeah, it's just
But
terrible.
if you're going to their homes, then maybe
Bring Ollie.
Yeah.
Bring him on.
pet therapy.
Pet therapy. Maybe that's what I should get into. Yeah, with a heavy 6 house, you see.
But yeah, no, the 6 houses, small pets. So yeah, pet therapy.
All
There's,
right.
you know,
Yeah.
something
and-
that you can play with.
Well, they say that like when you stroke a cat, it lowers your blood pressure. You know,
Mm.
that's a good thing, isn't it?
Should we finish
And
the
they
recording?
say that when the cat is
Oops.
purring, you know how it does that noise? That sound actually improves the cat's immunity.
Oh,
Mm.
I had no idea.
Hey,
So it's
sorry to interrupt, but we need
You're
to
gonna
stop
stop?
recording this. We just need to
we
stop
need to stop
recording
recording
this.
this.
You're welcome to keep talking. It's just that it's going to go off into a long conversation.
No.
And
Just
this is
stop the
actually
recording.
going
You're good.
online. This is going online for everybody else that, you know, wasn't here with us, who wants to hear about Christina's course.
you better
I
edit
love the
that.
tail. Okay. So
Better edit.
we'll just close it off the recording, and then if you want to keep talking, you're more than welcome to.
That's
Yeah. Yeah.
sorry. I
Oh,
can't.
what happened? Oh, all right. We'll just say thank you heaps, Christina. I'm not actually closing the whole thing. I'm just going to stop. Is that right? Where's the stop button?
Right there.
All right. All right. I hope all of you who watch this, that you find lots of useful information for doing Christina's course this year or next year. We'll be starting again. Ciao, ciao.